Today it was announced that the Cleveland Browns are trading away Joe Flacco in a sixth-round selection to the Cincinnati Bengals in exchange for a fifth-round pick. And I think this is a brilliant move for the Cincinnati Bengals to make for Joe Flacco. Jake Browning clearly didn't have it. He has not looked good in all three of his starts, plus the second half against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He leads the league in interceptions with 9 interceptions. And a lot of the throws he's making aren't even giving the receivers chances. The top two wide receivers on his team, two of the top wide receivers in the National Football League, and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. To me, when he makes these throws, when he throws them, it was just like he couldn't read the defense. It wasn't giving the receivers a chance. It wasn't placing a ball where they could possibly catch it. It was just making bad throws. When you look at the backup room with Brett Ripon and other players on the practice squad, they clearly weren't cut out for the starting gig. Also, to give the Bengals a real chance. And when it comes to the market of the quarterback position, I heard names like Gardner Minshew, Carson Wentz, Jameis Winston being expressed that the Bengals should pursue. But the reality is, in all likelihood, they weren't on the table to be traded for. Because when you look at the Chiefs, for example, with Gardner Minshew, they have cerebral hopes. If Mahomes goes out with an injury for a couple of weeks, they won't have a reliable quarterback to put in there to navigate the ship, and like Gardner Minshew has been in his NFL career. When you look at the Minnesota Vikings, they have a roster built to contend right now. The jury's still out on J.J. McCarthy, so they want Carson Wentz out there on the roster who has a 2-1 record, who can come in a pinch in case things go south with J.J. McCarthy. And there's also a possibility he may remain the starter for a couple of weeks, even after J.J.'s potentially back and healthy. And then looking at the Jameis Winston trade, I mean, that makes sense on paper, especially since he's listed as a third string quarterback. But the Giants have been adamant since this offseason, even after naming him the third string quarterback, that they aren't trading him, that they're keeping him on the roster. It could be maybe a skill thing, but it could also be a locker room presence, a presence in the quarterback position, the quarterback room to help navigate Jackson Dart on his rookie journey. So, in all honesty, there weren't many other options out there. And I like the move of trading for Joe Flacco when you have a couple winnable games coming up. Obviously, they play the Packers, but then they host the Bears and the Jets, and those are two winnable games for the Bengals before they get to their bye week. So make the move now, get somebody in there, a veteran presence, who's a leader in the locker room, and Joe Flacco, who's had many years of experience, who doesn't have an injury history to worry about despite his age, and a quarterback that. Sure, he may throw interceptions, but Jake Browning has done the same. But at least when he does it, he gives his receivers a chance. And that sounds ridiculous, but it's making the best of a bad situation. When you have Jamar and T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki, anything is possible when it comes to the receiving game. So get Flacco in there, who's demonstrated success as recent as a couple years ago when he went 4-1 with the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, he hasn't looked good this past season, but he's also dealing with a team that doesn't have a solid receiving core. Where Cedric Tillman, his favorite target, one of the better receivers in that room, is on the IR. He's dealing with an undrafted free agent in Isaiah Bond and Jerry Jeudy, who's been not what he was hyped up to be out of college. So I think this is a good move for the Cincinnati Bengals because Flacco gives them a fighting chance.